Alright, welcome back. This video is going to be all about installing the metal roof. So let's get into it. So here I am putting on the underlayment. I only caught the tail end of the underlayment install. It was a pain in the ass. When it got too hot, the tape underneath it would stick to everything, and it was not a fun experience. But here's Rachel to explain some more of it.
Underlayment of the house and garage is finally complete. Super cool how you can see the shark skin as it goes up to green, because the green hasn't been exposed to UV light. But this shark skin gives us an extra 6 months for the roof, and it's waterproofing. I love it because if you read it, it says, Miami-Dade County right here, Texas County, so it's designed for like hurricane zones. Y'all know Josh is extra in a good way, so this will help not only the zip help for water resistance, then the underlayment, and then our metal roof. We're hoping very much so to get that 50-year life out of our metal roof. Just take some practice, and you can see Josh already laid the whole drip edge. That's what this little black thing is right here. The sub fascia is all we have installed right now, but once we get our fascia boards as our next step, when we work on the trim, it'll all tuck up underneath nice and pretty. Same thing with our garage doors. It'll look fantastic. We still don't have the porch done completely because it's very helpful to be able to use a scissor lift versus a telehandler every time. But once we get our gable here, we're going to have to use it exclusively. But our plan is finish the roof, then we can return the telehandler for a bit, and then when we need the siding, we'll have to rent it again to finish. But at that point, we'll have the porch all done, and we don't need the scissor lift to get up on the roof. Josh is still rolling with this awesome hat I got him. I love you, babe.
For the record, I responded back. You just couldn't hear me. So getting into cutting and bending the first panel for the standing seam metal roof. The metal is from Best Buy Metals, I want to say, and it's the Titan lock system. I had to rip down that first section to get the everything started, and then here I am just cutting things down for the normal panel lengths. There's a lot of cutting, a lot of bending. Rachel did a vast majority of the cutting and bending. And then I think later on in the video she'll give a demonstration on like the steps on how we cut up everything. And now the fun part begins. We've laying down this cedar breather stuff here. It's just going to allow any condensation that builds up underneath the panels to kind of work its way out, or kind of get some airflow underneath those panels to dry out the condensation that may occur. Here we are just lining up that first half panel to make sure it's right on our marks, because that determines the entire how everything lines up for the rest of the roof. So we're just making sure that everything's lined up perfectly before we keep going, and then the rest of it is just lining the rib up on top of the other one, making sure we hit our marks, screwing everything down, and then just stomping that rib down until it clicks into the one below it. And that's how it's that's why it's the standing seam, or why it's called standing seam, I guess. It's not an exposed fastener, so it's a hidden fastener system. So the screws get screwed down on the outside of that panel, and then the next one that overlaps it will cover up all those screws, so you won't have any penetrations in the middle of the panel, so it lessens the possibilities of leaks. Alright, another awesome day out here at the property. The weather, although cloudy and muggy, was great, nice and cool, a lot cooler than it has been. I was able to get up there and ta-da, got some more roof on. So yesterday Rachel and I got like 3 or 4 panels on. I was able to get up there and get 7 up there today. Now that we're kind of in the swing of things, it should go a lot faster. But with work and stuff, our goal is to try and get 10 a day, so that we'll get like one side of the roofs done in a week. We'll see how that goes. The weekend we might be able to get more up, but I think we got things going on. This past couple of days it's just been after work stuff, but yeah, it's looking good. Panels are, you know, straight and doesn't look too bad. It looks, when you're up there and looking straight down it looks like it's kind of slightly wavy. I think that's due just to the way that the panels were, the zip sheathing kind of laid out, but like from down here it looks fantastic. So excited to get more on. We'll see how tomorrow goes. All right, more panel install. This one doing it by myself. It is possible to do it by myself. It's just a lot longer of a process. I gotta go down there, make sure everything's lined up, shove it up far enough that I can myself, screw down one side, go to the top, screw down the other, stand all the way up it, and then go back down and screw all of the holes. So instead of splitting up the time with Rachel, yeah, it definitely takes longer. Whenever she's there though, we're able to rip through them really fast. But yeah, pretty much just same thing. Laying down that cedar breather and then laying down panels. All right, another great evening out here at the property. Got 10 panels on the roof up after work like I was hoping to, or at least that's our goal. So we'll see how tomorrow goes. One more day until the weekend and then we'll be able to do a lot of work. But yeah, there's the roof and it's coming along. See how tomorrow goes. And here is some drone footage of the progress, which is that one side being almost done. Got a new drone. I think it's DJI Mini 4K. This thing is money. The quality is fantastic, and the actual interface on the phone is really easy to use. So definitely enjoying it. All right, another great day here at the property, or I guess evening. Got a lot done. Finished the one side of the roof, metal, steel for the standing seam metal. Also got one half of the gable fascia on. Let me see, let me spin this around here. So like, yep, got that fascia there on, and the steel is on up there. I still need to add the trims, the box Steve trims, as well as on both sides, and I got to put the fascia on the other half of the gable on the back side, and then this side will be mostly done. I'll have to put a sidewall flashing and an end wall flashing up there around the chimney, but yeah, I think tomorrow morning I might do the other fascia on the back gable where the sun will be not at, before I do some work. But yeah, we'll see how tomorrow goes.
louder.
What?
You gotta speak up louder.
And I use my square, which is awesome. Mark it, because that's where I'm gonna do the bend over. Once I cut this, I'll bend it. This caps it off so bugs don't get up inside of it. This one I really only do 3.5 because I'm gonna cut it all off. Once I have measured it, Josh uses all the other tools, but I just like these two. I use the yellow, line it up on my mark, cut it, and you can pull it out like that. And then I do this one. You can go all the way up and over. I like to go a smidgen in because it's gonna this is just the excess. This one goes all the way across. Like that. And then I cut off from the top. The nice thing about the metal is you bend it a couple times, it'll snap the rest of the way. Okay, so then I'm gonna cut off this. So now I switch tools and I go, because I'm already gonna cut this off, this is where I'm gonna bend. So this part of the scissors don't get in the way. I just kind of start the cut, get it, and then I really just push it over. And again, I can just snap it like that. Same thing over here. This is all metal that's gonna disappear, so it's not as pretty. Once I get to this point though, is where I care about it being neat, but I've cleared most of my screw area. I don't want to go too far though. Sometimes it. Okay. Do that. Then I can just bend it over manually. And then Josh kind of, once we get it up there, he'll cut off the extra part, but you can see it kind of covers the point so bugs don't get inside. And then my snipper tool, because I already put that line, I just line this up. Done. And then this one's kind of already notched, but I do it a little more. It makes it a little tighter. I just cut this off. We weren't doing it initially, but it's just easier to, because again, this whole part's gonna get knocked, or notched under. And then you take this, slide it on. Both sides are on. Bring it back. Done.
And more drone footage here. That one side is complete now. The fascia is on all the gables, and then here you can see that back side of the valley trim between the garage and the house is in there. It's not complete. It's just that little detail underneath the overhang up to the first part of that little valley section there. That was our test area just to make sure that we had the process down.
All right, another great day out here at the property. It's the weekend, so we had a good amount of time out here to work. Today's focus has been working on this little section here. It's a little detail area underneath our overhang that we needed to get knocked out because this piece right here, ooh, that's my big finger. This one right there kind of leads into the valley piece, and then we laid the valley there as well. So yeah, tomorrow basically we'll be doing the same thing on the other side, and then we could actually start laying the steel again. Should go pretty quick once we get these valleys taken care of. Yeah, we'll see how tomorrow goes.
Rachel and I are cutting the panel for the front side, a little detail area underneath the overhang that's leading into the valley there. Here's a little glimpse of the trial and error process that we went through for the back side. Had to do the same thing for the front side, but it was a get some decent measurements, cut, bring it up there, realizing that some things didn't line up like it should, bringing it back down, cutting again, and then hopefully finally installing for the actual last time here, and then just screwing it down, getting ready for that valley to go in. Rachel and I are now starting to work on the valley. We just pop a line to get where that middle part of that W valley trim goes, or that panel goes. It's just to help us keep it all lined up. And then here I am just cutting out where that valley kind of hit the drip edge there, bend it over so that it hooks onto the drip edge. Then kind of just measure and cut so that that pan, or that valley pan, will sit directly on top of the panel that we have already there. So just making cuts and bends just so that that all will kind of line up there nicely and seal it all up. It was definitely a tricky detail, but luckily YouTube has some good videos to watch. And a couple of people that we're subscribed to, they have some good content out there on how to do all this stuff. So basically watch those to get an idea, and then now just putting down some caulk to seal it, and then screw it down. Came out nice and early to finish up these valley sections here before work. So it was real early, so there's still condensation on the roof, you can see, so I had to wipe a lot of that away. But pre-built that one section that's being laid down there, and then getting measurements for that next section and going down and cutting it and placing it. So basically just wanted to kind of make sure that it overlapped a little bit over the ridge so that when the next one goes down, there's some good overlap, and we could caulk those together just to make sure that there's no leaking and stuff. After cutting that valley down to size and shape, still took a little trial and error to get it to fit perfectly. So just a little back and forth with trimming, cutting, now caulking and installing it onto the roof. Sun decided to pop out pretty good, so I had to get the old nice hat on to protect my neck and face a little bit. That sun's no joke. But here I am just laying down some double beaded butyl tape. Yeah, say that 3 times fast. But just putting that down so I could install the offset cleat here on top of it, and then when I go, I'll screw down between that butyl tape so that it gets a nice good seal and doesn't leak on us. But those offset cleats, that's what the panels will clip into, sort of like the drip edge does on the normal side of the house. They just clip on to those cleats instead. And now it's time to cut all of the valley panels themselves. So it's a lot of measuring the angles, measuring the distances, making sure everything's accurate. basically how we did this is we popped some lines on where the panels needed to lie, and we got the distance for the longer side, and then just used the angle of the valley itself to create the angle, and that gave us our short side. So we used some math to get everything perfect, and it all worked out really well. And now time to install those panels that were just created. So putting down the cedar breather again and then just lining everything up. These little small ones are tricky because they move around pretty good, but just took my time to make sure that they were lining up on the marks and that they were the exact distance away from our important mark. And that important mark is the one that lines up with the panel coming from underneath that overhang. So we have to hit exactly on that panel so that the next full one will lay over both of those ribs and kind of seal everything together. And it did. Math worked out again. And that detail was, I was a little worried about that detail area, just kind of how everything was going to overlay. And yeah, it ended up working out pretty good. So that's pretty much it for this video. We'll finish it up with a quick word from myself and then some drone footage, and then we'll see you back in part 2.
All right, another good evening here at the property. I was able to get the valley done there on the one side of the garage as a test. I'll try and get some footage of the other side being done. But yeah, it was good evening, good afternoon. So it's a little trickier in this little tight area. I'll have some footage of that, but where everything kind of meets right there was a little tricky, but everything lined up. Good old math. So yeah, we'll see how tomorrow goes.